The colony ship drifted through the darkness of space like a sleeping giant. Inside the massive vessel, 50,000 people lay frozen in their sleep pods, dreaming of the new world, waiting for them. The ship had been traveling for 3 years, and they had 2 more years to go before reaching their destination. Captain Dae-jung stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. He was a tall man with tired eyes and gray hair at his temples. Next to him stood Hana, the chief engineer. She was younger, with quick hands and a sharp mind that had kept the old ship running perfectly. 2 more years, Dae-jung said quietly. Then we start a new life. Hana smiled. The kids will love it. Real soil under their feet, real sky above their heads. They had left Earth behind because it was too crowded, too busy. The new world promised open spaces and fresh air. It promised a future for their children. Young-sik could not sleep. The 16-year-old boy had woken up an hour ago from a bad dream. He walked through the empty corridors of the ship, his footsteps echoing in the silence. Most of the ship was dark. Only emergency lights glowed softly along the walls. He liked these quiet moments when he felt like the only person in the universe. He stopped at a window and pressed his hand against the cold glass. Space stretched out forever in all directions, beautiful and terrible at the same time. Then he saw them. Ships appeared out of nowhere. Huge, angular vessels that looked like they were made from black metal and hatred. They moved fast, surrounding the colony ship in seconds. Young-sik's heart hammered in his chest. He ran toward the bridge. On the bridge, alarms screamed. Red lights flashed everywhere. Dae-jung grabbed his communication device. This is Captain Dae-jung of the colony ship New Hope. We are a civilian vessel. We carry no weapons. Please, identify yourself. The response came in a voice that sounded like rocks grinding together. You are now property of the Krithian Empire. Prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in death. Krithians? Hana looked at the scanner. I've never heard of them. Neither have I, Dae-jung said. His hands moved quickly across the controls. Send a distress signal. Send it everywhere. Let Earth know what's happening. The first blast hit the engine section. The ship shook violently. Lights flickered and went out. Emergency power kicked in seconds later. But the damage was done. Another blast tore through the residential section where most of the sleep pods were located. Young-sik reached the bridge just as the third blast hit. The door exploded inward, throwing him against the wall. Through the smoke and fire, he saw figures entering. They were huge, easily 7 feet tall, with scales like lizards and eyes that glowed yellow in the darkness. The Krithians. Dae-jung pulled out a fire extinguisher and swung it at the nearest alien. It connected with a satisfying crunch, but the Krithian barely noticed. It grabbed the captain by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Hana fought back with a metal pipe. She hit one Krithian across the face, then another in the knee. More aliens poured in. Young-sik watched in horror as the bridge crew was overwhelmed. He wanted to help, wanted to fight, but his body would not move. Terror had frozen him in place. The Krithian leader stepped onto the bridge. He wore armor decorated with symbols that Young-sik did not recognize. This one was bigger than the others, with scars across his face and arms. He looked at the struggling humans with something like amusement. I am Vex Thor, the alien said. Your ship is mine. Your people are mine. You will serve the Empire, or you will die. Dae-jung spat blood. Go to hell. Vex Thor laughed. It was a terrible sound. Your species is weak, soft. You build slow ships and dream small dreams. You will make good slaves. They dragged the survivors off the bridge. Young-sik hid in a maintenance shaft, watching through a grate as Krithian soldiers moved through the ship. They went to the sleep pod sections. Most of the pods had been destroyed in the attack. Thousands of people had died without ever waking up. The survivors were pulled from their pods, confused and terrified. Young-sik counted maybe 300 survivors. That was all. 50,000 people had left Earth. And now, Only 300 remained alive. The Crithians gathered the prisoners in the main cargo bay. They chained them together like animals. Young-Sik saw Daejung and Hana among them, both injured, but alive. He wanted to call out to them but kept silent. If he was the only one free, maybe he could help somehow. Vexthor stood before the prisoners. Behind him, a camera recorded everything. "People of the galaxy," he announced. "Today, the Crithian Empire has conquered a human colony ship. We have taken prisoners and claimed their vessel. This is a message to all weak species. Submit to us, or share their fate." He gestured to his soldiers. They brought forward an older woman who had been crying. Without warning, without mercy, Vexthor killed her. Just to make a point. Just to show his power. The recording ended. Vexthor smiled. "Broadcast this everywhere. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who are weak." Young-Sik pressed his hand over his mouth to keep from screaming. Tears ran down his face. His mother had been in pod section 3. She was gone. His father had been in section 5. Also gone. Everyone he loved was dead or chained. The Crithian ships attached themselves to the colony vessel and began towing it away. Young-Sik remained hidden, alone in the darkness. As his world fell apart around him, light years away, on Earth, the distress signal arrived. It played automatically in the Galactic Council chamber, where representatives from dozens of species met to discuss peace and trade. The human ambassador, Tae-1, was in the middle of a boring discussion about mining rights when the message interrupted. The chamber fell silent as they watched the recording. They saw the attack. They saw the murders. They saw the chains. When it ended, every eye turned to Tae-1. The ambassador was an old man, a veteran of many wars. His face showed nothing as he stood up slowly. He looked at each council member in turn. "The Crithians have never met humans before," he said quietly. "They do not know what they have done." An alien council member named Sun Hee leaned forward. She was from a peaceful species that had never known war. "Surely, we can negotiate. Surely, we can find a peaceful solution." Tae-1 shook his head slowly. "They just killed us all," he said. "They just do not know it yet." He walked out of the chamber without another word. Behind him, the council erupted into confused discussion. They did not understand. How could one attack doom an entire species? They would learn soon enough. The galaxy was about to remember why there was one law that should never be broken. One rule that every species should know. Do not mess with humans. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from 40 different species argued loudly about what to do. Some wanted sanctions. Others wanted negotiations. A few suggested sending a diplomatic mission to speak with the Crithians. Tae-1 returned to the chamber 3 hours later. He looked different now. He wore a military uniform instead of his diplomatic robes. The council fell silent when they saw him. "The human government has made its decision," he said. His voice was calm, but something dangerous lurked beneath it. "We demand the immediate return of all prisoners, and the surrender of Vexthor and his commanders for trial. We also demand full reparations for the lives lost." Sun Hee spoke up. "Ambassador, perhaps we should discuss this reasonably. War benefits no one. Let us send mediators to speak with both sides." "No," Tae-1 said simply. "But surely you cannot mean to fight," another representative said. "The Crithians have a massive fleet. They control 12 systems. They have conquered 6 species in the last decade. Your people are not warriors." Tae-1 smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "That is where you are wrong. My people are very much warriors. We simply choose not to be most of the time." He activated a holographic display. "Let me tell you a story." The display showed an alien species. They looked like large insects with multiple arms and sharp mandibles. 300 years ago, a species called the Rendax invaded Earth. They had better ships, better weapons, better technology in every way. They thought humans would be easy to conquer. The display shifted to show images of war, cities burning, humans fighting with primitive weapons against advanced aliens. We lost the first battles. We lost the first year. The Rendax occupied our major cities and declared victory. Then what happened? Sun He asked. We did not stop fighting, Taewon said. We fought in the streets. We fought in the ruins. We fought in the forests and mountains and deserts. Every day. Every night. For 5 years. The Rendax could not understand it. They kept winning battles. But the humans would not quit. Could not quit. The display showed Rendax soldiers looking exhausted, worn down. The Rendax evolved on a world with short, intense conflicts. They were sprinters. But humans evolved as persistence hunters. We chased prey across continents until it collapsed from exhaustion. We never stopped running. Never stopped following. That is what we are. That is what we did to the Rendax. Eventually, we captured their technology, learned how it worked, improved it. Then, we did not just fight on Earth. We followed them home. We chased them across 12 systems. We hunted them until their government collapsed, until their military surrendered, until their people begged for mercy. The council chamber was completely silent now. Where are the Rendax now? Sun He asked quietly. Scattered. Refugees. Their homeworld is now a human military base. We did not exterminate them, but we made sure they would never threaten anyone again. Taewon turned off the display. The Krithians have made the same mistake. They think we are weak because we look soft. They think we are easy prey because we tried diplomacy first. They are wrong. He looked around the chamber. There is a saying among humans. You can awaken a sleeping dragon, but you cannot make it go back to sleep. Far away, in Krithian space, Vex Thor sat in his command chamber. His advisor, an alien named Kiran, from a species the Krithians had conquered, stood nervously nearby. Lord Vex Thor, Kiran said carefully. I have been researching the humans. I think we may have made an error. An error? Vex Thor laughed. We crushed them. They are weak mammals. What error? They are classified as a Class 7 threat species by the old archives, Kiran said. He pulled up data on a screen. They are persistence predators. They do not give up. Ever. The last species that attacked human civilians was hunted to extinction. Those are just stories. Vex Thor waved his hand dismissively. Meant to scare fools like you. We have the strongest military in this sector. We have conquered species far more advanced than these humans. But Lord, the data shows. Enough! Vex Thor stood up. I will not be lectured about weakness by a slave species. The humans will submit or they will die. It is that simple. Kiran bowed and left. But he was worried. Very worried. On Earth, Admiral G1 stood before a massive tactical display. She was a short woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. Around her, hundreds of military officers worked at their stations. Status report, she said. All fleets are mobilizing, her second-in-command replied. We will have full deployment in 72 hours. Not good enough, G1 said. We need to move faster. What about civilian resources? We have 12,000 registered civilian ships, cargo haulers, mining vessels, private yachts. Most are unarmed. Bring them all in, G1 ordered. Every ship that can fly. Every person who can work. We need engineers, miners, scientists. Anyone with useful skills. Her officers looked surprised. Admiral, with respect. What good will civilian ships do against the Krithian military? Admiral, G1 smiled. It was a cold, calculating smile. We are not going to fight the war they expect. We are going to fight the war we are good at. The kind of war humans have been perfecting for thousands of years. She pulled up a star chart. The Krithians control 12 systems. They have major military installations on 30 planets. They have supply lines stretching across 500 light-years. That is a lot of territory to defend. You want to attack their territory? An officer asked. But they will have fortifications, defensive positions. I do not want to attack their fortifications, G1 said. I want to make them irrelevant. We are going to cut their supply lines, destroy their resources, make them chase us across the galaxy while we pick them apart piece by piece. We are going to do what humans do best. We are going to be patient. We are going to be persistent. And we are never going to stop. She zoomed in on a location far from Crithian space. But first, we are going to visit an old battlefield. 3 systems from here, there is an ancient asteroid field. 1,000 years ago, 2 alien species fought a massive war there. Both sides lost. Both sides abandoned their ships when they ran out of resources. Those ships are still there. Dead technology. Forgotten weapons. You want to salvage old alien tech? An officer asked. I want to learn from it, G1 said. I want to take it apart. Figure out how it works. Combine it with our technology. The Crithians think they know what human ships can do. Let us surprise them. The room buzzed with activity as orders went out. The human military machine was waking up. And once awake, it would not rest until justice was done. Back at the Galactic Council, Sun He approached Tae-Won privately after the session ended. Is war truly necessary? She asked. My people have lived in peace for 1,000 years. We believe there is always another way. Tae-Won looked at her kindly. Your people are fortunate. You have never been forced to choose between war and extinction. We have. Many times. We learned that sometimes peace is only possible after strength has been proven. But so many will die, Sun He said. Many have already died, Tae-Won replied. 50,000 colonists. Men, women, children. They died for no reason except they were in the wrong place when cruel people decided to be cruel. If we do nothing, it will happen again. To more humans. To other species. Evil unchecked does not stop itself. He placed a hand on her shoulder. We do not want this war. But we will not run from it either. That is the difference between your people and mine. You have forgotten what it means to face extinction. We never forget. We carry that memory in our bones. It makes us careful. It makes us patient. But when we must fight, we fight to win. Sun He watched him walk away and wondered what kind of species could be both so peaceful and so dangerous at the same time. In his prison cell aboard the Crithian ship, Dae-jung sat with his back against the cold metal wall. Hana sat next to him, her head resting on his shoulder. Around them, other prisoners huddled together for warmth and comfort. Do you think Earth knows what happened? Hana whispered. Yes, Dae-jung said. I got the distress signal out. They know. Then they will come for us, Hana said with certainty. A younger prisoner nearby laughed bitterly. Come for us? How? The Crithians have hundreds of ships. What can Earth do? Dae-jung looked at the young man. You do not understand humans very well. We do not abandon our own. Ever. They will come. And when they do, the Crithians will regret the day they attacked us. How can you be so sure? The young man asked. Because I know our history, Dae-jung said. I know what we are capable of when someone hurts our people. The Crithians think they started a raid. They actually started a war they cannot win. High above them, in the ship's control room, Kieran watched the prisoners on a monitor. He thought about what Dae-jung said. He thought about the warnings in the old archives, and he felt fear growing in his chest. The Crithians had broken the oldest law in the galaxy. They just did not know it yet. But soon, very soon, the lesson would begin. And it would be written in fire across the stars. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Forgotten Graves. That was what spacers called this place. An ancient battlefield where 2 alien civilizations had destroyed each other 1,000 years ago. Now it was just debris. millions of pieces of broken ships floating in eternal silence. Admiral G1 stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Defiant. Around her, dozens of human ships spread out in formation. Military vessels, cargo haulers, mining ships, even some private yachts. Every ship that could fly had answered the call. "Begin salvage operations," she ordered. Minho floated in zero gravity, his tools strapped to his belt. He was a civilian engineer who had volunteered immediately when he heard about the attack. Now he drifted through the wreckage of an alien battleship, cutting away pieces of technology that might be useful. "This is incredible," he said into his radio. "This power core is still partially functional after 1,000 years. If we can figure out how it works, we could increase our energy output by 40%. All around him, other engineers did the same work. Cutting, analyzing, taking apart ancient technology. Some of it was too damaged to use. Some of it was designed for alien bodies and minds. But some of it was brilliant. Some of it could be adapted. Back on the Defiant, G1 watched the progress reports scroll across her screen. They had been here for 3 days now. 3 days of non-stop work. Her people were exhausted, but determined. "Admiral," her tactical officer said, "we are detecting a Crithian scout ship at the edge of the system. They have spotted us." "Let them look," G1 said calmly. "Let them see us gathering scraps. Let them think we are desperate. By the time they understand what we are actually doing, it will be too late." The scout ship reported back to Vex Thor. The warlord laughed when he heard the news. "The humans are scavenging garbage from a dead battlefield. How pathetic. They are so weak they need ancient broken weapons to fight us." Kieran stood nearby but said nothing. He had learned not to contradict his master. Bo-Ra sat in the cockpit of her new fighter craft and ran through the pre-flight checks. The ship looked strange. Parts of it were clearly human design, but other parts were alien technology, integrated seamlessly into the frame. The result was something new. Something that had never existed before. "How does it feel?" Minho asked over the radio. He had helped design the craft. "Like piloting a dream," Bo-Ra replied. She was a test pilot, one of the best humanity had ever produced. "The response time is incredible. And these stealth systems from that old wreck you found, they actually work. I am practically invisible to sensors." "Good." G1's voice came through. "Because you are going to need every advantage. Your mission is simple. Get close to the Crithian fleet. Learn their patterns. Find their weaknesses. Do not engage. Just watch and report." "Understood, Admiral," Bo-Ra said. She activated the engines, and her craft shot forward, disappearing into the darkness of space. On the Crithian prison ship, Young-Sik had finally revealed himself to the other prisoners. He had spent 2 weeks studying the guards, learning their routines, mapping the ship from the ventilation ducts where he hid. Now he crouched in a dark corner with Dae-Jung, Hana, and 5 other prisoners who had proven they could be trusted. "The guards change shifts every 8 hours, Young-Sik whispered. He drew a rough map in the dust on the floor. "There are always 6 guards in this section. But for exactly 10 minutes during the shift change, there are only 3. That is when we move." "Move where?" one of the prisoners asked. "We are chained. We have no weapons." "I have been collecting things," Young-Sik said. He opened a small bag he had been hiding. Inside were pieces of scrap metal, sharpened into crude blades. Broken pieces of pipe, wire that could be used as garrote. Not much, but enough. Hana picked up one of the metal shards. "These could work, but we need more than weapons. We need a plan." "The communications array," Dae-Jung said. "If we can reach it, we can send messages. Let Earth know where we are, what the Crithian fleet positions are. Everything. The array is 3 levels up," Young-Sik said, heavily guarded. "Not during a riot," Hana said with a small smile. "If we cause enough chaos down here, the guards will come running. That is when a small team slips away to the array. They spent the next hour planning, every detail, every possibility. They only had one chance. If they failed, they would all die. But staying here as slaves was worse than death. 3 days later, Bo-Ra returned from her reconnaissance mission. She looked exhausted but excited as she briefed the command staff. "The Crithian fleet is huge," she said. "But they are arrogant. Their formations are predictable. They do not expect anyone to get close enough to study them. I mapped 17 capital ships, 43 cruisers, and at least 100 smaller vessels." "What about defenses?" G1 asked. "Strong in the front, weak on the sides and rear. They are designed to face enemies head-on, overwhelming them with firepower. But if you can get around them, behind them, their shields are much weaker." G1 nodded. "That matches what we know about Crithian warfare. They believe in direct confrontation. Strength against strength. They do not understand subtlety." "We can use that," Minho said. He pulled up a holographic display showing a modified cargo ship. "Look at this. We take old cargo haulers, the ones too slow to fight effectively. We load them with every weapon we can fit, missiles, railguns, whatever we have. Then we set them on automated courses toward the Crithian fleet. They will destroy them easily." An officer objected. "Exactly," G1 said, understanding. "They will destroy them. And while they are busy shooting at obvious targets, our real attack craft slip past using the stealth technology. We hit them from behind while they are distracted. It is a suicide mission for those cargo ships," the officer said. "Not if nobody is on board," Minho replied. "Automated systems. We set them and forget them." The Crithians waste ammunition and time shooting at empty ships. Plans came together quickly after that. The human fleet had become something new. Part military, part civilian, all determined. In the prison ship, the riot started exactly as planned. The prisoners rushed the guards during shift change. They used their crude weapons, their fists, their teeth. The Crithians were stronger individually, but they had not expected organized resistance. Alarms blared. Guards rushed from other parts of the ship. In the chaos, Young-Sik, Dae-Jung, and Hana slipped away. They moved through the corridors quickly, staying in the shadows. A guard spotted them. Dae-Jung tackled him, and they struggled. The Crithian was winning until Hana hit him from behind with a piece of pipe. The alien collapsed. "Go," Dae-Jung gasped. "I will hold this corridor." Young-Sik and Hana ran toward the communications array. They reached it to find 2 guards on duty. There was no sneaking past them, no time for planning. Hana charged straight at them, screaming. It was so unexpected that both guards hesitated for a crucial second. Young-Sik followed, swinging his makeshift blade. It caught one guard across the throat. The second guard raised his weapon, but Hana was already there. She fought like someone with nothing to lose. The second guard fell. Hana and Young-Sik were both injured but alive. They stumbled to the communication console. "Can you work it?" Young-Sik asked. "I am an engineer," Hana said. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead, but her hands were steady. "I can work anything." She bypassed the security systems and activated the long-range transmitter. "This is Engineer Hana of the colony ship New Hope. We are prisoners on Crithian prison ship Darkblade. Sending all tactical data now." She uploaded everything Young-Sik had gathered. Guard rotations, ship layouts, fleet positions, everything they knew about Crithian military operations. "This is Admiral G1 of the Human Defense Fleet," a voice crackled back. "We read you, Hana. Help is coming. Hold on." "Tell my family I survived," Hana said. "Tell them all of us are still fighting. I will tell them personally," G1 promised. The transmission cut off as Crithian soldiers broke down the door. But it was too late. The message was sent. Earth knew everything. Vexus Thor received the report in his command chamber. His face twisted with rage. "The prisoners rioted? They accessed our communications?" "Yes, my lord," a subordinate said nervously. We have regained control. But they sent data to the humans. What data? Everything. Fleet positions. Ship specifications. Base locations. The humans know all our military deployments now. For the first time, Vex Thor felt something unfamiliar. It was not quite fear. Not yet. But it was close. These humans were supposed to be weak. Slaves. They were not supposed to fight back like this. They were not supposed to be clever. Prepare the fleet for battle, he ordered. The humans want war? We will give them war. We will crush them completely. Leave no survivors. Kieran watched his master give orders and wondered what it was like to be so blind. The humans had just shown exactly what they were capable of. And Vex Thor still did not understand. The storm was coming. And the Krithians were not ready for it. Far away, Bo-Ra climbed back into her fighter craft. This time, she was not alone. Behind her, 100 other pilots prepared their ships. Some flew military fighters. Others flew converted civilian craft with weapons strapped to them. All of them were ready. Remember the plan, G1 said over the fleet-wide channel. We do not fight fair. We do not give them a chance to use their superior firepower. We hit fast. We hit hard. We disappear. Then we do it again. And again. And again. Until they break. What if we cannot beat them, Admiral? A young pilot asked. We do not have to beat them, G1 replied. We just have to outlast them. That is what humans do. We persist. We endure. We never give up. The Krithians will learn what every other species learned. You can fight humans, but you cannot make them quit. The human fleet jumped to hyperspace. The hunt was beginning. The Krithian home system had never seen a human ship before. Now it saw hundreds. Vex Thor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Claw, and watched the human fleet approach. He smiled. They were coming to him. Finally, a proper battle. The humans would learn what Krithian military might truly meant. All ships, battle formation Alpha, he commanded. His fleet moved into position. A massive wall of warships, bristling with weapons. When they get in range, we destroy them all. But something was wrong. The human ships were not acting like they should. Instead of maintaining formation, they scattered. Some ships accelerated, while others slowed down. It looked chaotic, disorganized, like they did not know what they were doing. They are panicking, Vex Thor said with satisfaction. They see our strength, and they lose courage. Kieran studied the tactical display and frowned. This did not look like panic. It looked like something else, something deliberate. The first human ships entered weapons range. They were old cargo haulers, moving at full speed, straight toward the Krithian fleet. Vex Thor's gunners destroyed them easily. 1 shot, 2 shots, and the human ships exploded into debris. Is that all they have? Vex Thor laughed. Old cargo ships? We will finish this in an hour. More cargo ships came. The Krithian fleet destroyed them systematically. It was almost boring. Almost too easy. The human ships did not even try to dodge or defend themselves. They just flew straight into certain death. Then the real attack began. Bo-Ra's fighter came in from above, using the debris field from destroyed cargo ships as cover. Her stealth systems made her nearly invisible. By the time the Krithian sensors detected her, she had already fired 6 missiles into the rear shield generator of a capital ship. The shield flickered and died. Dozens more human fighters appeared from nowhere, all targeting the same ship. Railgun rounds and laser fire poured into the unshielded hull. The Krithian capital ship shuddered under the assault. Where did they come from? Vex Thor shouted. We do not know, my lord, his tactical officer replied. Our sensors did not detect them until they fired. All across the battle space, the same thing was happening. Human fighters appeared from impossible angles, struck hard, then vanished before the Krithians could respond. They never stayed to fight. They hit and ran. Over and over. Pursue them! Vex Thor ordered. Do not let them escape. But pursuing was exactly what the humans wanted. Krithian ships broke formation to chase the fighters. And when they did, they found mines. Hundreds of small, nearly undetectable explosives that had been seeded throughout the system days before. The Krithians did not know it, but humans had been sneaking into their home system for weeks, preparing the battlefield. One Krithian cruiser hit a mine cluster. The explosion tore off its front section. Another ship, trying to avoid the mines, collided with a friendly vessel. Chaos spread through the Krithian fleet. Reform! Get back in formation! Vex Thor screamed. But his commanders were confused. They were trained for direct combat, not this kind of warfare. They did not know how to fight an enemy that refused to stand still and trade blows. On the Defiant, Admiral G1 watched the battle unfold exactly as planned. Phase 2. Target their command ship. All bombers, you are authorized to attack. Larger human ships emerged from behind a moon. These were not fighters but heavy bombers, loaded with the most powerful weapons humanity could build. They headed straight for the Iron Claw. Vex Thor's ship had the strongest shields in the fleet. The bombers should not have been able to damage it. But the humans had learned something from the ancient alien technology they salvaged. They had learned about harmonic frequencies. And they had learned that even the strongest shield had a frequency where it became vulnerable. The bombers fired specialized missiles that vibrated at exactly the right frequency. The shields of the Iron Claw flickered. Just for a moment. Just long enough. The next wave of missiles went through the shield and hit the hull directly. Explosions rippled across Vex Thor's flagship. Damage report, Vex Thor demanded. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 9. Fire in the engine room. Shield generators at 50% capacity. Vex Thor felt something he had not felt in years. Real fear. His ship, the pride of the Krithian fleet, was actually in danger. Fall back, he ordered. All ships, return to defensive positions around the homeworld. But falling back was not easy. The human ships followed, harassing them every step of the way. Not fighting directly, just hitting them, wearing them down, like wolves chasing exhausted prey. Deep inside the Iron Claw, in the ventilation system, Hana crawled through the darkness. She was not supposed to be here. She was supposed to be in a prison cell. But when the battle started and chaos erupted, she had escaped. Again. It turned out that the Krithians were really bad at keeping track of human prisoners during combat situations. They assumed humans were too weak, too scared to try anything during a battle. They were wrong. Hana had been on this ship for 2 weeks, hiding in the walls, learning its systems, and sabotaging things. Small things that would not be noticed immediately. A wire cut here. A circuit damaged there. Nothing dramatic. But all those small problems added up. When the battle started and the ship took damage, all those tiny acts of sabotage became major problems. Now she moved through the ship like a ghost, heading toward the main computer core. She had a plan. It was crazy. It probably would not work. But she had to try. On the surface of the Krithian homeworld, Daejung led a team of rescued prisoners through the streets. The prison ship had been disabled in orbit, and in the confusion, dozens of humans had escaped in Krithian shuttles. Now, they were on the ground, behind enemy lines. Youngsik ran beside him, carrying a stolen Krithian rifle that was almost too heavy for him. They had no real military training. They were colonists, farmers, teachers, engineers, but they were human. And humans, when pushed, became very dangerous. The military command center is 3 blocks ahead, Daejung said. They had been using the data Hana sent to Earth, which included layouts of Krithian military installations on the homeworld. If we can disable their communications, their fleet will be completely blind. There will be hundreds of guards, Youngsik said. Probably, Daejung agreed. but they will not expect an attack from inside their own capital city. Surprise is worth more than numbers. They reached the command center and found it exactly as defended as expected. But they also found something else. Other human teams. Groups of escaped prisoners who had the same idea. All of them had independently decided to attack the same target. Daejung smiled. That was the thing about humans. You did not need to tell them what to do. They figured it out on their own. The combined human force attacked simultaneously from 6 different directions. The Crithian guards were tough, well-trained, and experienced. But they had never fought an enemy quite like this. The humans used tactics that made no sense. They sacrificed themselves to create openings for others. They fought with improvised weapons when their guns ran out. They simply would not stop coming. Welt, the command center fell in 30 minutes. Youngsik, covered in blood and exhaustion, helped Daejung plant explosives on the communication equipment. They set the timers and ran. The explosion could be seen from orbit. The Crithian fleet suddenly found itself unable to coordinate. Ships received no orders. Commands went nowhere. They were deaf and blind. What is happening? Vexthor demanded. Why can we not reach ground command? The communication center has been destroyed, my lord, an officer reported. We are receiving reports of human ground forces in the capital. Impossible. There are no human forces on our planet. They are escaped prisoners, my lord. They have been organizing attacks throughout the city. Vexthor felt his world falling apart. This was not how war was supposed to work. You fought fleets in space. You had proper battles with proper formations. You did not have escaped slaves sneaking around blowing things up. It was dishonorable. It was not fair. Hana reached the computer core of the Iron Claw. She looked at the alien technology and felt a moment of doubt. She was an engineer. Yes. But this was Crithian technology. She had only been studying it for 2 weeks. Could she really do this? Then she thought about the 50,000 colonists who died. She thought about her friends in chains. She thought about Youngsik hiding alone in the dark for weeks. And she got angry. Anger was good. Anger meant focus. She pulled out tools she had made from scraps and began working. The Crithian code was complex. But code was code. Logic was logic. And Hana was very, very good at understanding logic. She found what she was looking for. The Iron Claw's navigation system. With careful modifications, she could lock it. Make it unable to jump to hyperspace. Trap it here in this system where the human fleet could finish it. But she could do something better. Something more. She could turn the ship's own targeting systems against the Crithian fleet. Make them fire on their own ships. Create even more chaos. It took her an hour of delicate work while the ship shook from human attacks. An hour of holding her breath every time a Crithian patrol passed near her hiding spot. But finally, it was done. She activated her program and felt the ship shudder as its weapons began firing. But they were not firing at humans. They were firing at other Crithian ships. We are shooting our own fleet, someone screamed on the Crithian command channel. The Iron Claw has gone mad. It is not the ship, Kieran said quietly. It is the human engineer. She is still on board. Still fighting. Vexthor felt something break inside him. This single human, this weak female engineer, who should have been an easy prisoner, had turned his flagship into a liability. How? How were these humans doing this? Abandon ship, he ordered finally. All crew to escape pods. We evacuate the Iron Claw. On the Defiant, G1 watched the Crithian flagship's crew evacuate. She opened a channel. Attention Crithian fleet. This is Admiral G1 of the Human Defense Fleet. Surrender now. Return all prisoners. Submit to justice. Or this continues. There was a long silence. Then a voice answered. It was Kieran. Not vex Thor. We surrender, Kieran said. We will return your people. We will face your justice. Please, just make it stop. G1 nodded slowly. Cease fire. All ships, stand down. Prepare boarding parties to secure Krithian vessels and extract prisoners. Around the system, human ships stopped attacking. The battle was over. They had won, not through superior firepower, but through superior thinking. Through persistence, through the very human ability to keep finding new ways to fight when the old ways failed. But Vex Thor was not in an escape pod. He had slipped away in a small, fast ship. He was heading toward human space, toward Earth itself. If he could strike at their homeworld, maybe he could still salvage something. Maybe he could still win. Kieran watched him go and felt only pity. The warlord still did not understand. Still thought strength alone mattered. Still believed this could end in victory. He was wrong. He had been wrong from the beginning. And soon, very soon, he would learn the final lesson. The lesson every species eventually learned. You do not mess with humans. Ever. Vex Thor's ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Earth hung in the distance, a blue and green jewel against the black of space. He had gathered what remained of his loyal forces, 12 ships. Not much, but enough to strike a blow that would hurt the humans. Enough to make them regret their victory. Set course for Earth, he ordered. We will show them what real pain feels like. His ships accelerated toward the inner system. Vex Thor felt grim satisfaction. The humans had won a battle, but he would win the war by striking at their heart. Then, everything went wrong. The first warning came when weapons fire erupted from seemingly empty space. Vex Thor's sensors showed nothing, but his ships were taking hits. Shields flickered and failed under sustained laser fire. Report, he demanded. Defensive satellites, my lord. Thousands of them. They were hidden. Cloaked. We flew right into their range. More warnings flashed. The space around Earth was not empty. It was full of weapons, platforms, automated defenses, and hidden gun emplacements. Centuries of human engineering had turned their home system into the most heavily fortified place in the galaxy, and Vex Thor had flown right into it. Evasive maneuvers, he ordered, but it was too late. Another ship exploded. Then another. His small fleet was being systematically destroyed. On Earth, in the Planetary Defense Command Center, Commander Kyung-soo watched the situation with calm professionalism. He was an older man who had spent 40 years in Earth's defense forces. He had seen threats come and go. This one was almost insulting in its simplicity. Do we need to launch any manned fighters? His assistant asked. No, Kyung-soo replied. The automated systems can handle this. 12 ships against our entire defense grid? They will not even reach the moon. He was right. Within 15 minutes, 11 of Vex Thor's ships were destroyed. Only his personal craft remained. Damaged and drifting. Kyung-soo sent a security team to capture him. They brought Vex Thor to the surface in chains. He could not believe it. Earth had destroyed his fleet without even trying, without sending a single pilot into danger. Their defenses had operated automatically, efficiently, perfectly, like they had been expecting such attacks for centuries, which, Kyung-soo explained to him during the interrogation, they had. You think you are the first to try attacking our homeworld? Kyung-soo asked. We have been planning for this since we first left our planet. Every human child learns history. We learn about every enemy who ever threatened us. We learn from those wars. We prepare. That is what we do. And a member pair Zadi. We learn about every enemy who ever threatened. And a member pair Zadi. 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 And a member pair. Vex Thor said nothing. There was nothing to say. At the Galactic Council, the trial began. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to watch. Sun-hee sat in her seat, her face grave. She had watched the entire war unfold. She had seen things she never thought possible. Vexus Thor was brought before the council in chains. But the humans surprised everyone again. Instead of demanding his execution, Ambassador Tae-won presented evidence. Videos from the colony ship attack, testimony from survivors, documentation of Krithian crimes against other species. "We do not want revenge," Tae-won said. "We want justice. We want to make sure this never happens again." The trial lasted 3 days. Every crime was documented. Every victim's story was told. Young-sik spoke, describing what it was like to watch his entire family die. Hana testified about the conditions on the prison ship. Dae-jung explained how they never gave up hope because they knew their people would come. Through it all, something strange happened. The Krithian people watched. The trial was broadcast across their homeworld, and they saw what their leaders had done. They saw the cruelty, the unnecessary violence, the arrogance. Many Krithians felt shame for the first time. Their government had told them they were bringing order to the galaxy. But this was not order. This was murder. A Krithian representative stood up on the third day. His name was Rax, a low-ranking official who had never spoken in public before. "I speak for many of my people," Rax said. "We did not know. We were told the humans attacked first. We were told they were dangerous. We see now that we were lied to. We see now what our leaders truly are." He turned to the human delegation. "We cannot undo what was done, but we can try to make it right. The Krithian people will pay reparations. We will demilitarize. We will never allow such leadership to rise again." Vex Thor screamed at Rax, calling him a traitor. But no one listened. Even his own people had turned against him. The council found Vex Thor guilty of all charges. The sentence was life imprisonment. He would spend the rest of his days in a human facility, thinking about what he had done. But the trial was only the beginning. The Galactic Council had to address the larger problem: how to prevent this from happening again. Tae-won stood before the assembly. "We propose a new law, an amendment to Galactic Code. Any species that attacks civilians of another species will face immediate sanctions, trade embargoes, travel restrictions, military intervention if necessary. No exceptions." 2. "You want the power to enforce this?" another representative asked. "We want everyone to enforce it," Tae-won replied. "We want a galaxy where attacking innocent people has real consequences, where strength is not measured by how many you can conquer, but by how many you can protect. We want a galaxy," Comprented Re. Sun-hee stood up. "The Luminar delegation supports this proposal. We have learned much from the humans. We thought peace came from avoiding conflict, but true peace comes from making conflict too costly for those who would disturb it." One by one, other species voiced their support. The law passed unanimously. It became known as the Human Clause, a reminder to every species of what happened when you violated the oldest law in the galaxy. After the trial, Dae-jung and Hana stood on Earth, looking up at the stars. They had been offered medals, honors, positions in the military. They turned them all down. "What will you do now?" Hana asked Dae-jung. "Build another colony ship," he said. "Fill it with people who still believe in new beginnings. Head out to the stars again. After everything that happened?" "You still want to go?" "Especially after everything that happened," Dae-jung said. "We cannot let fear stop us from living. That is what makes us human. We fall down. We get hurt. We face terrible things. And then, we stand up and keep going." Hana smiled. "Then I am coming with you. Someone needs to make sure the ship actually works." Young-sik found them an hour later. The young man looked different now. Older. Harder. War did that to people. "I am joining the military," he told them. Admiral G1 offered me a position in her fleet. She says, I have a talent for tactics. Your parents would be proud, Daejung said softly. I know, Youngsik replied. That is why I am doing it. So no other kid has to hide in ventilation ducts watching his family die. So no other colony ship gets attacked by people who think we are weak. He saluted them and walked away. Daejung watched him go and felt both sad and hopeful. Sad for what the boy had lost. Hopeful for what he would become. Admiral G1 stood in her office, looking at casualty reports. The war had been won, but not without cost. 300 human ships destroyed, 2,000 personnel killed, many more injured, but 50,000 colonists had been avenged, and the galaxy had learned its lesson. Bo-Ra knocked on her door. The pilot looked tired but satisfied. You wanted to see me? Admiral? I am writing a report, G1 said, about what made the difference in this war. I want your perspective as someone who flew combat missions. Bo-Ra thought about it. We won because we did not fight the way they expected. We used our creativity, our ability to adapt. We made weapons from salvage. We turned their own systems against them. We never stopped thinking of new ways to win. That is what I thought, G1 said. But I think there is more to it. We won because we cared. Every person who fought did so because they were angry about what happened to those colonists. We did not fight for territory or resources. We fought because someone hurt our people. That made us dangerous. Will there be more wars? Bo-Ra asked. Probably, G1 said. Humanity has never existed in a universe without conflict. But maybe there will be fewer. Maybe other species will think twice before starting something. Maybe the price of attacking us is now too high. She pulled up a file on her computer. I am creating a new training program, teaching other species how to defend themselves. Not aggressive warfare, defensive tactics. I want to share what we learned, make the galaxy safer for everyone. Even species that might become enemies later, especially them, G1 said. An armed galaxy is a polite galaxy. When everyone can defend themselves, aggression becomes foolish. That is how we build real peace. On the Krithian homeworld, Kieran worked to rebuild his civilization. The demilitarization had been painful. Many of his people struggled with their new reality. They had been conquerors for so long. Now they were just another species among many. But slowly, things improved. Trade routes opened. Krithian engineers, once used for weapons, now built bridges and hospitals. Their military efficiency translated well into peacetime projects. Kieran received a message one day. It was from Hana. Hello, Kieran, the message said. I heard you are working to reform your people. I wanted to say that I respect that. It takes courage to admit mistakes and change. If you ever need help, technical assistance, or just advice, contact me. Humans believe in second chances. We believe people can change. Good luck. Just a Vire. Kieran felt something strange. It was hope. The humans could have destroyed his people. Should have destroyed them. By all military logic. Instead, they offered friendship. He sent a reply. Thank you. We will not forget this mercy. We will prove ourselves worthy of it. At the Galactic Council, a new database was updated. The Galactic Warnings Compendium. It contained information about every known species, their strengths, their weaknesses, their histories. The entry for humans was very long now. It detailed their wars, their technologies, their tactics. But at the very top, in letters translated into every known language, was a simple warning. Humans are persistence predators. They evolved by chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that should have destroyed them. They reached the stars through determination and creativity. They are individually weak but collectively unstoppable. They can be cruel or compassionate, aggressive or peaceful. But they share one trait above all others: they never give up. They remember every wrong and every kindness. They will negotiate fairly and honor agreements. But if you attack them without cause, if you harm their innocent, they will pursue you across the galaxy. They will never stop. They will never forgive. They will never forget. They are human. Do not mess with humans. Sun He read the entry and thought about everything she had witnessed. Her species had spent 1,000 years in peace because they were fortunate. They lived in a safe part of the galaxy with few aggressive neighbors. But humans had no such luxury. They had fought for survival from their very beginning. That struggle had shaped them into something unique, something dangerous and wonderful in equal measure. She drafted a proposal for her government. The Luminar would seek a formal alliance with humanity, not because they feared humans, but because they admired them. Young Sik stood on the bridge of his first ship. It was a small patrol craft, nothing impressive, but it was his. Admiral G1 had kept her promise and given him a position. He looked out at the stars and thought about his parents, about his friends who died on the colony ship, about everything that had been taken from him. "Where to, sir?" his co-pilot asked. Young Sik smiled. He was not a scared teenager anymore. He was a soldier now. A protector. Someone who would make sure no other family suffered like his had. "Patrol Route 7, he said. "The outer colonies. That is where we are needed most." The ship jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, Earth grew smaller. Ahead, the galaxy stretched vast and infinite. Somewhere out there, the next colony ship was being built. Daejung and Hana worked on it every day, planning for a future where humans could live in peace among the stars. Somewhere out there, other species watched and learned. They saw what humanity was capable of. They understood now. And across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds, people told stories. Stories about the species that should not be provoked. The species that turned terrible disasters into victories. The species that refused to be victims. They told stories about humans. And they never forgot the oldest law in the galaxy. Do not mess with humans. Ever.